So, you want to win big in the music business. Of course you do. One of those things you need to do is network, which we talked about, and get your music heard. I've given you a list of over 200 record labels with their contacts for you to reach out to try to build a network and contact people there that can listen to your music and hopefully get you a deal, if that's what you're looking for. One of those people that will be on that list or work for those companies is an A&R. Earl Johnson is the VP of Rock Nation, VP of A&R for Rock Nation. We all know Rock Nation.
Definitely.
All right, get familiar, right?
Powerhouse.
All right, and so we're going to talk to him about the role of an A&R, and for those people out there that don't understand what an A&R is, and those that do, how to get in touch with an A&R. So let's start with, what does A&R mean? The A and the R.
Well, A&R stands for Artist and Repertoire. It's a unique space to work in because technically we're not artists, obviously, but we're still in a creative space with you. So, and we're also the liaisons between the artists and the management companies. We're the go-betweens.
Right.
We basically seek, find, and discover and develop talent. It's a really unique space to work in. A lot of people always ask, you know, with A&Ring, what comes of that? Like, how creative are you guys? How hands-on are you guys? We're very hands-on because at the same time, what people don't know is that, you know, we're the ones going out to find artists, but at the same time, you know, we're responsible for that artist's career within the company,
Right.
and the money, you know, the accountability and the accounting that comes along with an artist.
So you're an accountant too.
Very much so an accountant.
So the A could also stand for accountant of revenue.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, because when you're getting a record deal, you know, we also want to make sure that it's a lucrative deal, and at the same time, we want to make sure that we can do everything that we're setting out to do. You know, artists have goals. Artists want to obtain certain things. They want to work with certain types of producers. They want to be in certain types of studios, and they want to live a certain lifestyle. So all of that has to be, you know, it's a big ask sometimes, and who's responsible for that type of ask to get that for the artist and take their career to another level?
Right.
Is the A&R.
So let's start backwards, because that was a lot to take in, right? So an A&R is the person at a record label that essentially goes out and finds talent and artists to sign.
Yes.
So do you make the final decision? If you find this kiddo, I'm a new artist.
Yeah.
You hear my demo. Yeah. You hear me on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
You hear that, man, this dude's dope.
Yeah.
What's the first thing you do when you find somebody that gets your attention?
I contact them, and I make sure that, you know, it's everything that I'm hoping it to be. Yeah. So I'll reach out to kids even online every day, no matter how I come in, whether it comes in from a manager or it comes in from an attorney or just me just finding, looking, searching. I'll reach out to the kid either through Instagram or Twitter, you know, get in contact with them, talk to them, fly out to meet them. Which
is important, why you should have your contact information on your SoundCloud, YouTube, in your bio, or this guy could never get in touch with you, right?
Exactly, because sometimes kids miss the messages, they don't see it, or, you know, by then the opportunity could be gone.
You found a new artist the next day and you're like, forget that dude.
Exactly, so, you know, and it's the same thing for us, a missed call is a missed opportunity.
Right.
So at the same time, you know, reaching out to these kids, making sure that, you know, we can both be on the same page, because a lot of the times I think people think like when you're doing the deal, it's all about the music. Right. It is all about the music essentially, but at the same time, people like to do business with people that they like, and they want to develop as a person. Because there's two things we're developing. We're developing an artist's career, and we're developing a human being and a person, and trying to help them understand the business that they're about to get in.
To help them win big in the music business.
Win big, and how to win big. I think it's a thing, you got to make sure that an artist can actually grow with the business and their business, and the maturity level of handling a business, because essentially that artist is a business and a brand, and we want to make sure that, you know, everything around them is solid. And you know, the music is, like I said, is essentially the step, but you know, it's from the other people on their team, the counterparts around them, and the trust level. And it's like almost like some people say, well, being an A&R, you guys are like people like banks. You guys are giving a bank loan. Yeah. I'm not gonna say that, because a lot of the times, a lot of new artists need way more than just a loan. Right. They actually need somebody to walk them through the industry and know and kind of help them roadmap their career. And the reason why I say roadmap is because, you know, essentially, like if we're driving in a car together, I always tell people, we both got to keep our eyes ahead
Right.
and look at the future and look what lies ahead.
Right.
And at the same time, keeping both hands on the steering wheel. You can't cruise control an artist's career.
Well, and the difference is you've already driven this path, presumably with another artist.
Exactly.
So when you got this guy in the car with you, now you're like, I already got the directions. Let me just put it in my GPS.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So now, can an artist reach out to you? Like you said, you reach out to them, but how would an artist get in touch with, a big A&R like you that works for Rock Nation?
Well, for me, I usually, when people DM me, I usually respond. I spend usually Thursdays and Sundays going through music, checking music. Everybody that either DM me or email me. I use a couple of different companies that I go through. I usually post them. It's in my bio how to send me music, and I usually post like, hey, I'm looking for this. Send me music, and I'll just post periodically, but I post often.
Right.
And I usually go through the 50 I get that day or 100.
Right.
I mean, over the holiday break, I probably checked out 130 artists.
Wow.
So I essentially did all my research. I don't just check what you send me. I'll go on all your profiles and see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a big social media guy. I'm not really looking for all the numbers.
Yeah.
I'm looking more for like comments, reactions, and I don't really care about the amount. I just care about the engagement.
Right. And who you are.
And who you
How
are.
you engage with your fans.
Exactly.
And what your fans think of
and
you.
what they think of you.
Right, right.
Because I mean, at the same time, it's not shaping my opinion of you, but I just need to know where I'm starting and where I gotta go.
Right. So what's the biggest mistake an artist trying to contact an A&R could make? What would turn you off?
I think a lot of people get turned off when I'm posting, A&Rs will post pictures of their personal family.
Yeah.
And then in those comments is like, you need to listen to my music and stuff like that. I think that's a big turn off for people because they might either be saying something, or if you're saying something that's knowledgeable, it could be a life lesson. It could be, you publicly speaking about things that you learned, but then there's this kid like, I'm the one. Like,
right.
That's kind of like a turn off. If I'm posting a life lesson, and you're gonna comment, be like, comment on the topic, and then say, hey, how can we better have a conversation?
Right.
How can I get to know you? I like what you're always saying online. Because at the same time, too, through Instagram and all these profiles, you get to kind of understand the human being that you want to do business with. And at the same time, too, you should always really study anything that you want to be in business with, not just because it's a record company or it's, or this person looks cool.
Right.
It's not about what looks cool, because everything that looks good ain't good.
Right.
So you got to make sure that you're really taking a look at the person behind the mask and like seeing like, hey, do I really want to be in business with this person? Would he really care about me? Because then I always tell people in music, there's wins and there's losses. Who's going to be there when you winning and who's going to be there when you have some rough patches?
Right.
And still answer your phone call, pick up the phone call, sometimes I have to maybe even get you out of bed and get you back in the studio and get you motivated about life again. So it comes a lot with this business. And at the same time, yeah, we're both businesses, but you want to also go the extra mile for the people that you're investing in and you believe in. It's a team effort.
Right.
We're both trying to win.
Speaking of team, so an A&R is almost like an added member to your team once you find a good A&R. Because as you started to explain, which I wanted to pull you back so we can go step by step, once you're assigned an artist, or once you find an artist and bring him into the label, presumably you like their music, you like their look, and what would be like kind of how you said you want to do a roadmap for this artist?
Yeah.
What would be the steps once you meet an artist and bring them into A&R their project? What is kind of the outline for that artist that you would set up? Like, do you have like a template of we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this? Or what is the steps that you would take going forward with that artist?
I mean, essentially, if an artist is handed to me, I'll start on that one because that does happen in the music business. As an A&R, you can get a project handed to you. Somebody else might was excited about it, signed it, whatever happened.
And what if you're not excited about it?
Well, even if I'm not excited about it, I have to first meet the person. Because sometimes there's artists where you're not necessarily excited about the music, but you're excited about the person that you might meet.
Right.
And they might be a really good person.
Right.
And maybe even with their music, you can transform their music into something that essentially you might like, because the artist might be living a fictitious life through their music, or just not really giving you the whole story of who they are,
Right.
where they like to go, and actually explaining it through their music.
And a good A&R
yeah,
would
you
know
gotta-
how to direct them.
Yeah, you got to pull it out of them, and sometimes people go through things, and that's probably my number one thing is like trying to find the connection with them as a person,
Right.
and then at the same time letting them understand that you're putting your music out to people. And I always tell, this is my number one rule in music. I use this as a slogan: music is feelings that are heard. So at the same time, you got to remember that if you're going through something, a tough time, maybe you're not the richest rapper, maybe you're not I'm the get money, throw money in the club guy. You know, maybe you might just be poor. Well, there's way more poor people than there are rich people. So at the end of the day, if you're going through something and you're having a tough time and you express it, then I'm sure a lot of people are going through that. I used to even, when I was working at Interscope, I used to tell people, hey, I feel like people loved, you know, people liked happy Mary J. Blige,
Yeah.
but people loved Mary J. Blige, who
Yeah.
had the stories
hurt,
and
the pain.
cried with him. And she got her fans through millions of things. So when I look at music, I always tell artists, like, you know, if you're going through something, that's the time to get in the studio. That's the time to be a person first. You know, yeah, have the mask, but be a person essentially. On
relatability.
Relatability is everything.
I had a conversation one time with an artist who I won't say, who felt like they were falling off, and he was really upset, kind of going through some depression. We talked for several hours, and he's like, I don't know what to do now. Like, I'm trying to keep up with this and that and da-da-da this. And after 2 hours of him talking, I said, you just wrote an album talking to me. He goes, what do you mean? I said, everything that you just said is what your music should be.
Yeah.
Because guess what? There's way more people that feel like you, that are trying to keep up or feel depressed or feel like, you know, they're not winning or feel like they don't have money or feel like the relatability. And just like you said, there's way more of that.
Yeah.
You know, people aspire and it's entertaining and everybody's goal is to be rich and famous, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is a lot of people won't be rich and famous, right?
Sure.
However, there's a lot of ways now than before that there is ways for you to get a lot more successful now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think a lot of people need to look into what really matters to them and stop chasing what's on the internet and doing what they think is supposed to be doing or think is going to work or think everyone's going to like, because you don't know what everyone's going to like until you put it out. They just like this right now.
Yeah.
Right? So back to the question. So because we kind of diverted it a little bit. So you get the artist in, and now what's your plan? How do you set up a roadmap for this artist?
Essentially, like I said, once you meet them and you go through the music and you try to, you know, you figure out key points, and then you sit down and be like, hey, this song right here, you know, you might start with just a song and say, hey, how can we get this song to market? So we might have to reproduce the record. We might have to bring in, and that's the thing too, a lot of artists, they felt like, because they got a beat pack off of YouTube or they probably got something off of SoundCloud that's it. Like, this is the song. It's amazing.
Right.
Essentially. Right. It's enough to will us in to be like, hey, this kid got something.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it's ready for market.
Right.
So then we take that one song, we maybe put them with a producer to reproduce the song. You know, we might even put them with a songwriter, you know, to broaden the hook, to open it up, to tell them where to breathe. Let people actually gravitate and let it click in their brain what you're saying on a record.
Right.
And then once we start from there and we feel like we have we might have the first song, then we say, a lot of the times with me, I'm a little old school. I might say, well, what's the concept of the whole album? What are you trying to say on this album? So therefore, we started with one song.
What is your messaging?
What's your messaging? And I listen to them and I say, these are the things you're saying you're going through. Or this is the same. This is where you've been at since before you haven't put out an album yet. It's your first album.
Right.
So this is what you've been through your life so far.
Right.
So we write all those down as topics, and then as we're topic, we do summaries. I'm old school. I do summaries, and then I give them to a producer, and I put them in together. And as they're developing with songwriters and maybe one or two producers, because I try not to go more than two producers for a project, just so you have a body of work. And as a new artist, it's key and it's very important to have a sound. Like, you gotta have your own sound that helps you with your originality. That's what helps people stick to you. And be like, hey, I like this guy, I'm gonna invest in this, and I relate to this. So
and create a feeling.
If
you can create a feeling, and people, when they think of you, they think of that feeling. Tell them how powerful that is.
Yeah, and that always brings them back to your music. Because, you know, people are trying to get, like I said, get through things. Whether they're happy, I could be happy, and it's just that I need to put on a happy song.
Right.
And I might be a motivating song where I just need to feel like I'm a winner today. It could be anything.
When I was in the studio working on Puff's music, he would always have a board with words.
Yeah.
And the words were just, I want these feelings.
Yeah.
So it was just about a feeling. It wasn't like, I want this kind of snare, I want this kind of plug-in, I want this chord progression. It was like, I want these feelings.
Exactly.
Whatever it takes to get me to feel this way,
Yeah.
that's what it was.
And see, and that's,
so we produce with feelings.
Exactly. And that, music is feelings that are heard.
Right.
So you really want the producer to understand, because he hasn't spent a lot of time with you, so you want him to understand who this new kid is, how to develop them, and like these are the things that they're going through. So essentially, when you're not even in the studio, you might come back the next day and a producer will be like, hey, off of this subject, and the writer and I, we came up with this off of what we feel that you're going through.
Right.
And are we hitting the needle on the head, and you know, all those, and the artist can say yeah or no, this is what I was thinking more, or the total opposite, but it gives you an idea of where you're going, and you're shaping, and you're starting to develop that part of the artist's career. And then outside of that, I'm spending time with them, taking them to lunches, taking them to meetings. I mean, I even go as far as, sometimes I've signed artists without even an attorney. I took them to their first attorney, a couple of attorney meetings, or took them to meet ASCAP or one of their PROs, BMI.
Right.
Essentially, and was just like, hey, these are good people. You know, they essentially, ASCAP and BMI, same company, but hey, get a feel for the people behind the desk, and you know, make your choice on which one you want to go with.
Right, right.
You know, because at the same time, like I said, these people are going to be with you for some years, and we're road mapping a career.
We're going to help you get some money.
Help you get some money, and we're road mapping careers.
Right.
So you essentially want your core team to be a solid team, structured team, and they all know who's amongst the other pieces of your team.
Right.
From your agent to anything else.
Right.
So, you know, and making sure all of that is in place. Because like I said, I've got kids off the internet, fresh off the internet, and put a team around them.
Right.
Because as an A&R, I'm doing the work, I'm creating the music, but I want to definitely make sure that
they got a good
once
manager,
once everything leaves my hand, the music can be heard, and it can get to the people, and that's what's important. I think from signing a person, developing them, and getting the music to the people. I don't care about, you know, a lot of other things, a lot of variables like most A&Rs do, but I do care about the consumer. Right. And that's the thing too. I really care about who's listening and what they
should care about the consumer.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Yeah, don't ever forget about, you know, you got fans.
Don't ever think you're bigger than the consumer or the fans. And don't ever disrespect those consumers and fans that give you their money and their time and their loyalty to listen to your music and engage with you. Right? Loyalty. So speaking of that, what message would you give to a young artist that has been doing it themselves, right? They feel like their way's the right way. You sign them, and then you're like, yeah, we should change this and that. And then they get mad saying, man, you signed me because you like what you heard. Why are you trying to change me or make me make other music? And while you're saying that, talk about the importance of helping to craft a record that's going to work to the masses. Yeah. Because you need that record that's going to make the most people listen to you so they can come back and listen to the other stuff.
Yeah. And that's essentially what it is. It's like, you know, and that happens all the time. Like artists will say, yeah, I'm doing this, and you love me for this. And I say, I love you for that. And you did that. But now I feel you got a partner. And the partner feels like, you know, essentially that we can help you become bigger. And more people will like even more. And I see something bigger in you. You know, you might have an amazing story. And sometimes it's rewrites. You just, you know, everything needs editing. And everything needs tweaking until it's at perfection. And at the end of the day, it's like, I might see something bigger than you. So we might have to change the hook to, you know, it might be a one-word hook sometimes that kids just think of, just really quick. But then it's like, okay, well, leave it one-word hook. But the pre-hook or the chorus going into it, the pre-chorus going into it, and you got to expand on it and bring them into it. Right. And then drop them with the one word.
Right, and a lot of times artists don't know that. They don't know the structure of a song, and that's also what an A&R does. So like, Let Me Love You with Snake and Bieber. Yeah. When we found that record, we didn't take the verses. We just, that hook is dope. Let's keep that hook and make new verses. Yeah. And like the average person doesn't know that. They think that the whole record came as it is. And you know, APG, for instance, infamous for taking 15 different parts of records and making one record out of it.
Because it's keywords. Right. And sometimes keywords have triggers. And so what you want to do is you want to actually like make sure that you're writing records, but like at the same time, you know, and I always tell even people putting the passion in putting emphasis on certain words that you really, that as an artist, you want people to feel. Right. And, you know, and follow. So it can even be put your hands up. Sometimes a lot of records that are hit records were songs that had direction in them.
Right.
You know, that's why dance records are usually big.
Whistles, call and responses.
Call and responses,
like
yeah.
Long, drawn out words.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, man, at the mall. Yeah. The whole club says it because they all want to say that line.
They all want to say that line.
So it's about coming up with the catchy part that people can grab onto.
And a lot of the times, like, you know, and even if you're an artist that don't make that, say if you're just like a real hardcore hip hop guy, okay, well then, like I said, we gotta find, you know, the things that people in, you know, that's looking for the real core hip hop. What are they following? Like I was making a record the other day, and for an artist, and it drew me back to, he had said something on one of his songs, and I immediately thought of Common.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like this kid could be like the next, like not the next Common.
Yeah.
And I didn't say it to the artist, obviously, but, you know, essentially, like, everybody started somewhere.
Right.
And, you know, when I had to compare it, I was like, this dude really raps.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to think about the fact that at some point, Common had to make hooks.
Yeah.
And this person had to make hooks.
Yeah.
But what was it? It was like Kanye using samples to put in the hooks.
Right.
But those samples had so much feeling in them and messages in them. So it's like, those were the shortcuts for a Common to have a hit record.
The light.
Right. Or something like that. And it's like, but that light, it's like, the light was a song that was, you know, a heavy sample from you know, but at the same time, it brought that feeling and that spark back to him.
Right.
And sometimes it's like, less is more. It was like a less is more thing with that song in the hook.
Right. What is an A&R not responsible for?
Your failures, not. No, I mean, I think we're responsible for from birth to conception.
Because it sounds like a lot of your job is the same duties a manager does.
Yeah, it definitely. I feel like us and manager, we're in sync together. Mm-hmm. My first call, this is my morning. My mornings I wake up and I call my artists. You know, essentially I take my kids to school, and then I call my artists. They're my babies.
Call your other kids.
They're my babies. Straight up. They're my babies. They're my first thought. They're my second thoughts of the day.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm calling their managers to discuss what we talked about in case they don't talk.
Right, right.
And then essentially, then I'm going to my boss office. If anything is a priority, I'm going straight to him first.
Yeah.
To let him know, like, hey, this is going on with this artist. This is what we need.
Mm-hmm.
This is what this artist feel like they need. And then after that, I'm talking to their product managers and making sure the product manager understands not only just the music that this kid is making, but who the kid is.
Right.
In case they haven't really had a lot of time to spend with an artist. And I want to make sure that I'm there, you know, making sure that before it goes to marketing, that we're fighting for this artist. And we both, me and the product manager, are on the same page, and we're the same team. We're the military in the building for them.
Right. Now, for those that don't know, what is a product manager?
So your product manager is assigned
at a record label.
At a record company. Your product manager is assigned to you. That's your second line of defense. That's the person that fights for money for you alongside the A&R, and not even just for your recording. They also fight for your marketing budgets, your video budgets, your radio budgets. Mm-hmm. So they're really like the person that, the second part of it, it's like having a dad and a mom at a label, essentially, or you know, or two great dads. Right, right. And they're in there fighting together, and saying, hey, we got to make this kid as a star. Yep. The A&R and the product manager sees the same vision, and they want to wrap that vision, but they also have to still sell it to the company and get the marketing person to believe, get the digital rep to believe, and getting even essentially the president of the company to believe that I have great records on this kid. This is the reason why his project have to come out with or without a hit single, or sometimes it's about, you know, putting a song out and just saying, hey, we're gonna build on this song and we'll get to it hit. But they also got to understand that the A&R and the product manager have vision to deliver this kid to market. You know, essentially.
So this that we're talking about so far, right now, I think there's a pretty good understanding and definition of what an A&R is, what their job is, and how they can help you construct your music, help build your brand, and get your music out to the market. That is one thing an A&R does, and that's their most important job. There are other things an A&R does that we can talk about. In the next video, I want to talk about, for those that want to become an A&R, how do you become an A&R? How did you become an A&R, and how you can become an A&R? It's in our next video.